Hi, I'm David and welcome to LeisureBit, and today we're going to be fitting some insulation behind these panels on each of the doors. Try and keep the cold out and the warm in on this Fiat Ducato based Elddis CV20 campervan. So let's get cracking. So these are the tools we're going to use today. So we've got a trim removal set. We've also got a pair of gloves because some of the metal edges might be a little bit sharp. We've got a pair of scissors. We've got some sound deadening material. And we've got some recycled plastic bottle insulation. And we've got a little tub to put the clips in so that we don't lose them when we're doing the job. Before I started the job, I took a thermal image reading of the back of the van, and it was quite cold outside. It was below freezing at this point in time. It being a cool night, we just got back from the white water park, and as you see if you watch that video, it was frosty there. And you can see the temperatures around 13-14 degrees on the outside of the van. We'll take a look at that when we get to the end of the video and see what it looks like after that point. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a trim removal tool. I'll pop a link in the description so you get an idea of what to pick up if you're after one of those and you haven't got one. And what we're going to do is we're going to pop it behind these clips in between the gap, and basically the clip pops out. So you're getting it in between the gap and then just pulling it up. And we'll pop them in the little plastic pot. There's also one just under the handle there, not forgetting that one. And then the board comes off, look, like so. As you can see, there's no insulation or sound deadening in there. So what we're going to do now is we're first going to put some sound deadening on, and then we're going to put some insulation in. So here's the sound deadening. You can get different types of this. I'll pop a link in the description so you can see some places where you can get it. And what we're going to do is just cut this down to size with a pair of scissors so it fits nicely in there. I think it's about here, so there we go. See how that fits. Do nicely there. What I'm going to do is there's a little bit of a lip here, so I'm just going to take a little bit off there, but I'm actually going to mount this first bit here. So if I just make a little slit in that, let me cut it across, just take that chunk off there. That'll go nicely in there and sit on the top of there now. I'll just take another piece of it now. I'm just going to finish the job off. This time I just cut it a long ways across. I think that'll fit about here. Obviously you could, to do it better, you can properly measure it up and mark it up, but I don't think it needs to be that precise because it's just to improve the situation rather than so again we've got that lip, just mark up where that wants to be cut, and then we'll just take the surplus off there. And then finally just need to shorten it so it fits against that. There we go. Then that will fit in there like that. So I'm just cutting a bit to go along the bottom here, but there's a couple of little sticky out bits where there's screws through. So what I'm going to do is just poke some holes in to make sure that fits, and then just take the edge bit off there so it tucks underneath nicely. So that's going to go under here. So there we go. I've cut two bits that just fit together. Again, roughly I've also popped a pair of gloves on because there's some sharp edges, so just want to make sure I don't chop my fingers open doing it. Right, so what I'm going to do now, because it's a cold day, we're in January, so I'm just going to warm the panel up a bit. So I'm just going to lift these sheets out that we've prepared and just warm it up. And what I'm using is a hairdryer rather than a hot air gun, but you could use a hot air gun. The only reason I'm not is this shouldn't get hot enough to blister the paint, because no matter look, I'd strip the paint first off. So let's go. Going to warm these up as well. Finally, just give the panel a quick warm up again. Right, and now we're ready to stick. So we'll start with the bottom panel. Just going to carefully peel off the plastic backing. A little bit tricky. Just making sure you get all the bits of paper off. There we go, there's the first bit prepared. I'm just going to carefully now lower it into position, just being careful not to stick it too early. Then just line up with the holes. I'm going to pop my glove on now just to make sure I don't slice my hand doing the rest of it, and then just make sure it's stuck solid. And give it a very quick warm again. And then let's peel this one off. Was better. Ho, as he says. There we go. And again, I'm going to put the gloves on because this has some sharp edges in here. And again, you don't want to slice your finger and get blood all over the place. Now, this one I need to take along from this side, being very careful not to stick it to what we've just done. And again, once you've got it moved across, just line it up with the holes we made. Quick blast of air. And there we go. That's the bottom bit done. Now we'll move up and do this section. I'm now going to do exactly the same with the top of the door, up and down across there. Catch you shortly. Right, so now that that's fitted, what we're going to do now is we're going to install the insulation. And what we're going to do is we're going to pack it up here. So this bit, it tucked right into the corner, like so. I'm going to nick the corner off there. That, and then the card will go over it. All right, so there's the bottom bit filled in. Now we'll move up to the next section, just being careful not to get any in this section or to block up the locking mechanism. Right, so there we go. So we've left a gap there for the mechanism, and there's a little part that has the wires in that comes across there. So left that space there, but put some of the insulation on. I haven't put the bit on the back there, just because that's where that roller runs to, and just made sure I kept it clear round the lock mechanism there. So let's pop the card back on, line up the first hole, and I'm going to pop this top one in. There we go. And we'll pop the button on. This clips back in there. And that's still operating, which is good. Very easy to put back on. Just make sure the clips are open. And then just push them in with the bottom bit and clip them in like so. And there we go. That's the door back on, insulated. And what I'm going to do now is just check it shuts properly. And opens properly. So that shuts and opens properly. So that's that side done. Now on to the next side. So we go through exactly the same procedure on this side. Just take this button off first. Again, pop it in a box so we don't lose them. And then just get the clip, not underneath, but in between, so that you separate the two parts. And then just lift it out. And that's the last one out. And then we just lift the door card off and put it out the way. And that's using this tool, trim pulling tool. So you can see here there's lights there for the number plate. We also need to be able to get at this at some point if we need to change the bulbs. So we'll just make sure that we can still get access to that. Let's crack on with door number 2. Right, so that's this side done. We've got the sound deadening put in. Again, doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to be in rough. And again, making sure we've left clearance for all of the mechanism. Just want to watch on this side around the bulbs. We're not going to put insulation around them. We're just going to keep them separate so that we can get at them by taking the door card off. So let's bob the insulation in now. I found it a little bit easier just to tear the insulation rather than cut it. So we'll start at this end. Get it tucked right in the corner. Like so. Some along the bottom here. Bit in here, just again keeping it clear of the mechanism. Insulated up there, and then we'll just check nothing snags. Now we're going to put the door back on. So, same as we did on the other side. Just get the card, line up the first hole, make sure the clips popped open, and just push door release back in. Let's check that works. Yeah. Final check to make sure the door shuts. Yeah, all good. So there we go. One door, two doors, insulated and sound deadened. As promised, I took the temperatures at the end of the fitting, and it had warmed up quite a bit outside by this point. As you can see, the temperatures just under 9 degrees, 8.4 degrees, so much cooler as you would expect, because it's keeping the heat in, and that was with the heating on in the van full. And if we look back at what it was earlier, we were looking at about 13.4, so quite a difference, certainly on face value. Not completely scientific, but I think it gives you a fair indication that it definitely improves the warming of the van. So the job's taken just over 2 hours, probably call it 2 hours, because I popped in for a drink because it was getting a bit chilly. So 2 hours, and this side now sound deadened and insulated. And I'll pop links in the below to the various materials used, such as the bottle insulation from B&Q and the sound deadening material. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. Catch you next time. Bye.